Crypto loans are booming in Latin America right now, and this comes due to the relentless inflation rates as well as the spiking high interest rates from the traditional banks. And ultimately, the reason for this is because the people in Latin America, they need access to credit, and they just can't afford it from traditional banks, and therefore they're turning to crypto. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
It's kind of shocking to me. I didn't really think, or I just never really thought about how the rise of inflation in America and just the USD in general will also affect all these Latin American countries. And it's pretty sad that, the inflation rates are going the way they are right now because the average person just can't afford to even get credit. So that's why it is awesome for, crypto to be able to, it's a great way for people to actually have an access to money. And I mean, like the guy in the TikTok said, what did he say again?
Just saying, story after story, there's people getting freed by crypto being available in these communities. Different. Not only just for minorities, but also for women and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we interviewed this guy on the street a couple months ago, and he's a big believer in crypto and about how saving people's lives by giving them access to money.
Yeah, well, and then I think also too, when you're seeing this kind of divide of people not really trusting, the domestic currency for their country, they're not really trusting that it's backed by their government. They don't know the value of that dollar of that piece of currency. They don't trust it, and so the percentage of people that don't, this is a win for them. They're seeing the value of this globalized currency taking place.
Yeah, and just kind of to add on to that, and the reason why it's such a better alternative is that when people are having to go to the banks, we saw how when COVID had impacted us, and now with the economic crisis just throughout and the immense impact that inflation has had on the region, what we're seeing is people are turning to crypto because it's 50% lower fees as well as zero maintenance fees. So it's just a much better alternative, and it's way cheaper to get that access. It's decentralized, so it's not backed by the government. They can't just spike it up to these insanely high numbers to where people can't afford it.
Yeah, I think once it gets to a place where it's not as volatile, where it's moving up and down the value of these cryptocurrencies so much, if you could get to a place where it's almost acting kind of like stable coins are, and people can kind of have a general idea of the value is going to be in this range for a while, kind of like how the US dollar goes up and down a few cents. If we could get crypto into that range, but it's still acting as a global currency on a blockchain, oh my God, it could really impact the world in a crazy way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to be that guy, but until it becomes a little bit more stable and I still see just a little bit more access and just utility for crypto, I don't know if I'm a big believer currently, especially with NFTs and everything. I don't know. I feel like it was a little bit of a fad there. I'm interested to see if that stuff will still be around 2 years from now.
Yeah, I mean...
Hey, but just remember, they said the same thing about credit cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's same exact thing's going to happen. They said the same thing about online banking, and look at where that's at now.
The thing is that, the crypto got really hot and a lot of buzzwords, a lot of hot topics. The thing is, though, that got people really interested. The thing is, most people aren't seeing what's going on behind the scenes with the development and the building that all these companies are trying to work. It's going to take years of infrastructure to put in place to pretty much switch a lot of these big companies over to a Web3 ecosystem, as well as all these crypto startups and developments. It's going to take years of getting it to a point where they're going to be able to actually provide real value to the average person. Where maybe right now, only people with big money are able to play in that space. These companies are working to try to be the first one that can move to where the everyday consumer can be able to access that stuff.
I think what really just tainted my vision and just really perception of crypto as a whole is just there's a small percentage of NFT projects that I feel like are very useful. The Bored Ape Yacht Club, a couple others that, the networking itself pays for itself. But for, 95, 98% of others, I just feel like it was just a giant rug pull, NFTs with no utility. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you decide what you decide to invest in. But I don't know. I feel like that really tainted my vision of my perception of NFTs in crypto, as well as a lot of other people's as well.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up the utility of some of the other ones. And I think what's going to happen is over time, those that have the utility are going to stay. And eventually, you're going to see a marketplace with a lot more NFT projects that actually do have utility going back and forth. I think right now, a lot of these, it takes a lot to be able to build a really great NFT project with a lot of good infrastructure behind it, and a lot of utility for the users to be able to follow through on those promises that you made for people to invest in it. I think that it's just going to take time and a lot of money for companies to be able to provide that sort of thing on a larger scale, where there's a lot of companies doing that consistently, and it's not that scam. I think we just got caught up in a time where there's just not enough infrastructure yet across society. I think you have a few big players, like you said, but until we get to that point, it's not the hottest thing in the world right now.